There are days when you feel like a phone on 1% battery, but life is demanding 100. It is a different kind of tired, not the gentle weariness after a day of good work, but a hollowed-out, brittle feeling, an emptiness where your patience used to be. The feeling that you are just one small push, one more request, one more "Mom, can you?" away from shattering completely. And so we do the only thing we know how to do. We try to recharge a broken battery. We tell ourselves we just need more sleep, more coffee, a weekend to do nothing. But the charge doesn't hold. The emptiness returns, often heavier than before. And with it, a terrifying thought. What if I'm just used up? But the great psychologist Carl Jung would tell us we are trying to solve the wrong problem. The mistake is not in our effort to rest. The mistake is in our diagnosis of the crisis. The solution to this profound depletion is not to get more energy, it is to stop losing the energy you have. Your soul is a precious vessel, and it is leaking. Today, this is not a philosophical lecture. This is a psychological first aid kit, a survival guide for the woman who feels she has nothing left to give. We will identify the 4 great energy leaks that drain the life force of so many women in midlife. And I will give you 3 immediate actions, 3 tourniquets for the soul to help you stop the bleeding right now. So take a breath. The rescue mission begins now. Before we can begin to heal, we must make the correct diagnosis. The most common mistake a woman makes when she is running on fumes is that she believes she is only tired. This is an innocent error, but it is a devastating one, because the solutions for tired do not work for drained. And when the solutions fail, we blame ourselves. The consequence is a spiral of shame. We try to sleep more, but we wake up just as empty. We take a day off, but the hollowness remains. We begin to believe that rest itself is broken for us, that we are broken. But the truth, the one that Carl Jung's work illuminates for us, is that you are not broken. You are simply trying to fill a leaking vessel. Tired is a debt that can be repaid with sleep. Drained is a bankruptcy of the soul. It is a profound deficit of your psychic energy, your life force. It is the state of having nothing left to give because your reserves have been slowly, silently emptying for years. Let's return to Sarah, the teacher we met. After her moment of surrender, she allowed herself a weekend of true rest. No chores, no obligations. On Monday morning, her husband asked her how she felt, and she began to cry. She said, "I don't understand. I did nothing, and I feel nothing, just empty." Sarah wasn't tired anymore. She was depleted. She had discovered the great wound of the modern woman in midlife. So let us for a moment become Jungian detectives. Let us look at the schematics of the soul and diagnose the 4 great leaks, the ones that lead to this state of profound depletion. We touched on them in our last conversation, and now we will see them as the true culprits they are. The first great leak is the constant low-grade fever of the overactive persona. As women, we are not just a person in our families. We are the chief operating officer of our entire world. You are the keeper of the calendar, the manager of emotions, the logistics expert for school projects and doctor's appointments. This is not just work, it is a 24-hour performance of competence and availability. And this performance, this mask of the woman who has it all together, is relentlessly draining your psychic energy every single day. The second great leak is the internal furnace of repressed shadow emotions. Every time you say, "It's fine," when it is not fine, you are throwing a piece of coal into a furnace inside you. Every surge of anger you swallow, every wave of grief you push down, every flicker of resentment you ignore, it doesn't disappear. It becomes fuel. And this furnace is constantly burning your precious life force just to keep those unacceptable feelings contained and out of sight. Many women are walking around with a raging inferno inside and wondering why they feel so cold and empty. The third great leak is the quiet civil war of your internal conflicts. This is the exhausting battle between the life you are living and the life that is calling to you. The part of you that says, "I should be grateful for this job," at war with the part that is screaming, "My soul is dying here." The part that says, "I have to stay for the kids," at war with the part that whispers, "I have lost myself in this marriage." This constant internal tug-of-war is a catastrophic drain on your energy. It is a battle with no armistice in sight. And the fourth great leak, the one that leaves the deepest ache, is the silent, aching void of the unlived life. It is the energy that is being siphoned away by the ghosts of the women you could have been. The painter, the traveler, the scholar, the dancer. Every time you feel a pang of longing when you see someone else living your dream, that is the sound of your energy leaking away. It is the grief for a part of your own soul that has been exiled. The persona, the shadow, the conflicts, the unlived life. These are the 4 horsemen of a woman's depletion. This is the reason rest fails. You are trying to patch a tire when the engine itself is leaking oil from 4 different places. So I invite you to pause here, take a breath, and with a gentle spirit of curiosity, not judgment, ask yourself, which leak is the widest for you right now? Where is the sound of the dripping the loudest? Simply naming it is the first act of repair. It is the moment you stop blaming yourself for being empty and start to understand the map of your own soul. To see the leaks is one thing, but to have the energy to repair them is another entirely.
So what do we do when the water level is already at the bottom of the vessel? We do not try to rebuild the ship in the middle of the storm. We practice psychological first aid.
When the vessel of your soul is almost empty, we make a critical mistake. We think the solution must be grand. We try to plan a great escape, a perfect week of self-care, a complete overhaul of our lives. We try to build a new house while we are still trapped inside the burning one. And the consequence is an overwhelming paralysis. The solution itself becomes another source of exhaustion, and we feel like a failure, even at the act of trying to heal. But the wisdom of Jung's work guides us to a different path, a path of triage, of emergency medicine for the soul. The true solution, when you are running on fumes, is not to plan the journey ahead. It is to stop the bleeding right now. You do not need a 5-year plan. You need psychological first aid. These are not solutions for a lifetime. These are tourniquets for the soul. 3 immediate, low-energy actions you can take today to stop the drain and reclaim a single drop of your own life force. The first act of psychological first aid is the most powerful, and for many of us, the most terrifying. It is the practice of conscious withdrawal. As women, our value is so often tied to our availability, to be always on, always ready to help, always nurturing. Always being available is not a virtue. It is a prison. Conscious withdrawal is the act of picking the lock. It is the sacred permission to say a gentle no, not just to others, but to the demanding drill sergeant inside your own head. I remember when Sarah, the teacher, first tried this. She was invited to a book club she no longer enjoyed. The old Sarah would have gone exhausted to avoid disappointing anyone. The new Sarah simply sent a text message. "Thank you so much for the invitation, but I won't be able to make it tonight. Have a wonderful time." She didn't give a long excuse. She didn't lie. She just withdrew. And in the quiet of that evening, she felt something she hadn't felt in years, a sliver of peace. She had stopped one leak for one night. The second act of first aid is radical permission for imperfection. This is the antidote to the tyranny of the overactive persona. When you are depleted, the pursuit of perfection is an act of violence against yourself. Radical permission for imperfection is the loving choice to let something be good enough. It is the freedom of the frozen pizza on a Tuesday night. The liberation of leaving the laundry and the basket for one more day. It is looking at your messy house and saying, "This is not a reflection of my worth. It is a reflection of a life being lived. And today, my energy is more precious than a perfect home." This is not laziness. This is a strategic conservation of your most vital resource. And the third act of first aid is the practice of a safe emotional release. When the furnace of your repressed shadow is burning through your energy, you must open a valve. We have been taught that our rage is dangerous. Our grief is inconvenient. The truth is
The pressure of containing them is what is truly dangerous. A safe emotional release is giving those feelings a voice in a space where they can do no harm. It can be as simple as putting on a song that you know will make you cry and letting yourself weep for 10 minutes without judgment. It can be going into your car in a parking lot and screaming into a pillow. It can be taking a journal and writing down every angry, petty, unacceptable thought you have, and then closing the book. This is not an indulgence. It is a necessary release of psychic pressure. It is lancing the wound to let the poison out. Conscious withdrawal, radical imperfection, safe release. These are not grand, life-altering projects. They are small, sacred acts of self-preservation. They are how you survive the day so that you can have the strength to heal for a lifetime. So I invite you to pause here, just for a moment. Take a breath, and gently ask your depleted soul, which of these 3 acts of first aid could you offer yourself today? Just one, the smallest version. Could you cancel one small thing? Could you let one thing be imperfect? Could you allow yourself 5 minutes to feel what you are truly feeling? This is not about fixing your life. It is about saving it. But first aid is not a cure. It only buys you time and a little space. So how do we use that precious space to begin the real work of repair? How do we become the detectives of our own energy and start to truly plug the leaks?
First aid is a sacred act. It is the moment you decide that your survival matters. But there is a subtle mistake we can make after the crisis has passed. We can become comfortable in the emergency room. We learn to live on the edge of burnout, applying tourniquets every few days without ever asking what is causing the wounds in the first place. The consequence is a life lived in a state of permanent triage. You are no longer in free fall, but you are not flying either. You are just not crashing. This is survival. It is necessary, but it is not a destination. The true solution, the one that leads from surviving to thriving, is to take the precious space that first aid has given you and use it to become a detective of your own soul. The wisdom of Carl Jung is not just about understanding the great archetypes. It is about applying that understanding to the intimate daily patterns of your own life. The final piece of our survival guide today is not another act of preservation. It is the first act of reclamation. It is a simple 5-minute practice that I call the energy audit. I remember when Sarah, the teacher, began this practice. She was no longer on the verge of shattering. The first aid had worked, but she still felt a low-grade depletion, a sense that her energy was not truly her own. So every night before bed, she would take out her journal. She would draw a simple line down the middle of the page. On one side, she wrote, "drained." On the other, "filled." And for just 5 minutes, she would reflect on her day. Under drained, she would list the top 3 moments, conversations, or tasks that had taken her energy. She didn't write a novel, just a few words.
trying to convince a colleague, saying yes to that extra committee meeting, worrying about my son's grades. Then, underfilled, she would list just one thing, one small moment that had given her a flicker of energy. The 5 minutes I sat in my car and listened to the rain. A student's unexpected thank you note. That first sip of morning coffee in silence. At first, she thought it was a useless exercise, just a list of complaints. But after 3 days, a pattern began to emerge from the fog. A shocking, undeniable truth. The things that were draining her most were not the big tasks, not the teaching, not the grading. They were the invisible, emotional labors of her life. The relentless effort to manage other people's feelings, the constant performance of her good teacher persona, the quiet war with her own desire for a different life. She was looking at a detailed, personalized map of her own energy leaks. The 4 great leaks we discussed were no longer abstract psychological concepts. They were written in her own handwriting on a Tuesday. And the things that filled her, they were always small, always quiet, always moments when she was, for just a second, unapologetically herself. The energy audit did not plug the leaks, not yet, but it did something arguably more important. It made the invisible visible. It gave her the undeniable data she needed to stop blaming herself. The problem wasn't her. The problem was the patterns. And a pattern that can be seen is a pattern that can be changed. This simple practice is the bridge from first aid to deep healing. It is the beginning of the true shadow work, the conscious examination of the unconscious forces that shape our lives. It is how you take back your power, not with a grand gesture, but with the quiet, revolutionary act of paying attention. So I invite you, one last time today, pause here. Consider this simple practice. This is not another task on your to-do list. This is your first act as the lead investigator in the mystery of your own soul. You are no longer a victim of your burnout. You are the one holding the magnifying glass. You are the one connecting the clues. The power to understand is the power to change. And that power has been inside you all along. So, will you commit to this one small act of detection? Will you give yourself the gift of your own attention for just 5 minutes a day? Because the path from depletion to wholeness begins with a single, honest observation. But even as we learn to manage our energy in the waking world, there is a final frontier where we often lose control. A place of supposed rest that for so many of us becomes another source of exhaustion. The night itself.
And so, our time in the emergency room comes to a close. We have named the terrifying state of being not just tired, but completely drained. We have diagnosed the 4 great leaks that empty the soul. And you have been given 3 tourniquets, 3 acts of psychological first aid to stop the bleeding on the days when you feel you are shattering. But here, at the threshold of this new awareness, we face one final common mistake. It is the mistake of the recovering perfectionist. We take this new tool, the energy audit, and we tried to turn it into another project to ace. We turn our journal into a spreadsheet for the soul. We begin to judge our days, to measure our energy with anxiety, to berate ourselves if we cannot find what filled us. And the consequence is a subtle but tragic irony. You are now exhausted by the very act of trying to understand your exhaustion. The war is not over. It has simply moved from the battlefield of your life to the pages of your journal. But the true solution, the quiet wisdom at the heart of Jung's work, is not to become a perfect analyst of your own soul. It is to become a compassionate listener. The goal of the energy audit is not to get a perfect score. The goal is the practice of paying attention itself. It is about building a new relationship with your own energy based on curiosity, not criticism. It is the first step in the great journey of shadow work, making the unconscious patterns of your life conscious. Because when you see written in your own hand that saying yes to that one friend always drains you, you are no longer a victim of that interaction. You are an informed participant. You have a choice. When you see that 5 minutes of silence filled you more than 2 hours of television, you are no longer guessing at what nourishes you. You have data. You have a map. This is how you begin to thrive. Not by a grand revolution, but by 1,000 small, informed rebellions against the forces that drain you. It is the quiet, profound freedom that comes from no longer being a mystery to yourself. You are not a broken machine. You are a living, breathing ecosystem, and you are finally learning to read the weather. So, as we close our time together today, I invite you to make a commitment, not to a lifetime of perfect journaling, but to 3 days. Just 3 days of this simple 5-minute practice. 3 days of offering yourself the profound gift of your own attention. In the comments below, I invite you to make your own declaration. This is more than a comment. It is a vow to yourself. It is an act of reclaiming your power. Write the words, "I am taking back my power." And by doing so, you not only commit to your own journey, you create a space of permission for every other woman who reads it. Our work of stopping the leaks in the waking world has begun. But there is a final frontier, a place of supposed rest that for so many of us has become another source of deep, unexplained exhaustion. What happens when the sun goes down? What happens when you lay your head on the pillow, desperate for renewal, only to wake up feeling just as tired, if not more so? What is the work that the soul is doing in the dark? And why is it leaving us so drained? That is where our journey will continue.